It's all good. We had about 30 people join since we went over this, so it's worth going again. So as a reminder today, my party people, we are going over percent tax and discount word problems. So very common topic on the ASVAB. We've all seen them. And so we're going to make sure we go through the three main things that are going to really guarantee your success here. So number one, first off, a lot of folks have a pretty hard time, again, understanding or pointing out, oh, this is a tax problem, this is a discount problem versus a regular percent problem. So we're going to be going over that. That way, when we can understand the difference between these types of problems, you're going to understand the difference between the processes, why this way works for taxes, this way works for discounts, and then we can extend that into those other problems. So get ready to really understand that. And notice that we're not even talking about numbers right now in terms of calculating. We're simply talking about getting the main idea in. Number two, once we have that main idea in, we're really going to have the opportunity to really explore how to calculate quickly. So one of the things that I always say in every single class is this. Your success on word problems is pretty much split up into three main actions. Number one, it's being able to point out the question relatively quickly. Number two is understanding what's going on in terms of your setup, your formulas, your process, your procedure, your solution. But number three, and this is what should always be done last, it's actually calculating with those numbers. So notice that step one and step two don't involve calculating at all. It's simply just expressing your understanding. And so then step three, if you don't know how to set it up properly, I don't care how quickly you can calculate. It's not going to matter because you're calculating the wrong things most likely. And again, that's where that confliction comes in with a lot of us with testing anxiety. So make sure that if you are a pretty good calculator and you're pretty proud of yourself, that you really lay in and focus on the actual setup and the reasons why. And then flip it around. If you feel like you're good at understanding what's going on, but your kryptonite is really going to be calculating, then make sure that you take note of that and you practice between these classes. Okay? So again, these two things we are absolutely going to be going over today. And as a reminder, tomorrow's class is going to be part two to our percent tax and discounts, where we're really going to be going over the type of tax and discount question. If you know how to do this type of tax and discount question, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. And so this is a problem that involves, well, having an item or items, applying a tax and a discount at the same time. They typically sound like, hey, Brandon went ahead and bought a computer and received a 20% discount, and he paid 6% tax at checkout. How much did he pay? Those are the types of questions that really are like just the peak of tax and discount. Can you have harder percentage questions? Yeah, those are in other areas. But when it comes to percent tax and discount, if you can do that, you're golden. Absolutely golden. So with that said, my party people, let's go ahead and get into our main notes. Number one, solving percents. First of all, the idea with percents is it's a very straightforward one. I want to present this first before the main idea for the first time ever. I want to present this first for the simple reason being I want this at the top of your page. Okay? So for those of us taking notes, which should be all of us, let's go ahead and write this down. It's just one formula. It's just a formula you can use right here. I'm going to say a formula you can use because I'm going to really simplify this for you. I wanted to do two formulas in terms of like, hey, use this one if you want to think about it like a proportion, but let's just keep it simple. A formula you can use is basically this. You are multiplying the percent by the original to get a result. Okay? This applies for regular percentage questions. This applies for percent tax and discount. This applies to simple interest. This applies to everything involving percents. That is the main formula you will pretty much always bring about or adhere to when you're solving. Number one, right there. Now, let me go ahead and highlight that for us. So the percent times the original is the result. Okay? Now, let's think of it like this. Whenever we're talking about trying to find the final result or the final price that you'll pay at checkout, whenever you're talking about, again, finding the result or what number you receive at the end of some sort of percentage process, you are multiplying. Okay? That's going forward. So essentially, you start with a percent and the original, again, you're multiplying to get that result. Can everybody see that? Can everybody see that right over here? Let me just zoom in for us. Can everybody tell that we get the result by multiplying the percent in the original? That's what I mean by forward. That's the forward way. Yeah, too close. But yeah, when we're going forward, we are multiplying. Now, think about it like this, everybody. Fill in the gap. And this is more so for the people that have been in my classes before. You know the answer to this. When it comes to solving equations is the art of fill in that blank. What's the answer there? Solving equations is the art of Lewis, my party people. You guys come to my classes all the time. Exactly. Working backwards. When you're solving equations, you're working backwards. So just take a look here, everybody. Let's say you wanted to find not the result, but let's say you were trying to look for the original number. Well, if you take a look here, well, hey, the percent is still stuck with it. It's not by itself. It's not saying original equals something, whatever. There's the percent in the way. And everybody, because you are trying to get the original by itself now, or work backwards, you got to solve this equation. You got to get that percent out of there. So if that percent is being multiplied, how do we get rid of that percent, everybody? Hey, Chandra, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you learned that. And Victoria, that's correct. Divide. You would need to divide and work backwards to get this out. So that's why it doesn't matter which one. If you're looking for the percent, you would divide, right? You would have to divide that out. And that would go ahead and do its thing. But in the either situation, let's say you're looking for the original, or excuse me, let's say you're looking for the percent actually. If you're looking for the percent, well, guess what? That original amount is still being multiplied there. And that's why we got to work backwards by dividing it out. So in either case, if you're given the result and you need to find the original or percent, that's why it's working backwards. That's why you are dividing. So let's make sure that, as simple as that might sound for some of us, or as refreshing as it might sound, or as brand new as it might sound, let me just do a quick little comprehension check to make sure you understand. If you want to get the final result in a percentage problem, you are going to be multiplying. If you are looking for any piece leading up to the final result, you're working backwards. And the backwards of multiplying is dividing. Yes or no, my party people? Does that make any sort of sense? Cool. And so I'm glad that it looks like the majority of us, or all of us, get it. But either way, there's someone that's a little shy right now who's sitting back saying, hey, my first class, I don't feel like saying that I don't get it. Look, it's okay to say that you don't get it. But number two, make sure you write this down. To get the result, you multiply. To get anything else, divide. Just like that. So to get the result, you multiply. You follow the formula. You go forward. You multiply to get the result. Anything else, you're working backwards. You divide. So write that down here. And that is some ugly handwriting right there. Perfect. All right, cool. Feel free to make fun of that as much as you want. So there it is. Oh, for sure. We are absolutely going to see this visually. No worries. What I'm really doing right now is, and you can ask people who have been to my classes before, what I'm always doing and making sure I'm very careful about is making sure that you have the main idea, at least in a sentence, a phrase, or an idea form in your head. That way, when we get into the problems and we get to the point where we're practicing what we're learning, you always have the main idea as a frame of reference. So to prove a point, for those students that have been in my classes before, yes or no, or how well does it work for you? when I set you up with the main idea of the class before we actually do problems. Cool. So just go ahead, take a look there. Again, I really want to make sure that you understand my teaching methods, because I don't want you to feel like, why are we spending so much time on XYZ when we could be practicing? This is absolutely necessary, because it's kind of like making sure that your car is actually built before you start driving it, as opposed to looking at it and saying, looks like a car, let's get in. Big difference. So let's go ahead and get that down. Now, again, forward, multiplying, anything else, working backwards, we're dividing. Now, let's go ahead and move forward here into this next slide. Now, let's understand another concept here. Everybody, it's in the name, percent, for every blank. Percent means out of what, everyone? Or Hazy, I love that. Yeah, it's like you don't want to get in your car and drive unless you know where you're going to go to begin with. And you're not going to start driving until you know how to get there. Exactly. And so I love this. So this is another main key idea. This might be a pretty common sense topic, even for those people here who don't like math. It might make sense that when you think of percents, the most common percent is 100%. But let's make sure we understand why that is the case. So let me write that down for us here. Percent means out of 100. Now, let me explain why this is so important here. So, my party people, when you think about the whole amount of something, what percent is typically going through your head? When you think of all of it, the whole thing, what percent is going on in your head? Alessa, right? That seems very, very intuitive. When we think of the whole thing, we think of 100%. And that's really important, because think of it like this. When we're talking about tax and discount problems, that initial amount, like before you do the tax, before you do the discount, just what you see listed on the item, that's 100%. That's the original amount. That's the whole thing. Now, when we're talking about taxes, that's on top of the 100%. When we're talking about discounts, we're taking away from 100. So if 100 is the whole thing, the original amount, when you're taxing, you're paying more. You're discounting, you're paying less than 100, or less than the original amount. You didn't have to take that note down. That was just me talking purely, just kind of building that bridge. We're going to get to write down exactly what I just said in a few moments. But first, let's just go ahead and review how to actually compute with percentages before we get into taxes and discounts. So, number one, my party people, to find a percentage of a number, okay, to find a percentage of a number one, first things first, make sure to convert the percent to a decimal. That's one thing that not many people forget to do. People typically are pretty good about that, and I'm really happy to see that. But I got to make sure I say it over and over and over again. That way we can understand any lapses in judgments. That it's going to happen every now and then. So let's make sure we go through all the stops. Step one, convert your percent to a decimal before you multiply. So for example, if we're looking at this example down here, this is where step number one appears. Step number one, this percent turns into a decimal. So if we're looking at something to the effect of, let's say, I don't care, 35%. Everybody go ahead, practice real quick. Turn 35% into a decimal for me. And I see a question here by Alessa. So some question I saw, we put like the 100 together. Oh, yeah, you'll learn exactly why in this class. Yep, we're going to go over that for sure. So great. So I see a lot of us understanding that. Okay, move the decimal place 2 times to the left. So if we're taking a look at that 35%, this is what moving it 2 times to the left looks like. We'll go from here, 1, 2. That's 2 decimal places, leaving us at 0.35. So 0.35. Let's try one more here, because this one might confuse some folks, but let's make sure we get that confusion out now instead of later. Everyone, let's go ahead and turn, let's say, 7% into a decimal. Go ahead. 7% into a decimal. Help me out. Let me make sure you know that that's a 7%. Just like that. So it's 0.7 or what is it? Okay, so this is a slightly worse than unanimous. When I talked about the 35%, y'all got that down pretty easily. When we talk about a decimal from a singular percentage, like 7%, a lot of people forget to apply the rules. Everybody, how many decimal places did I say you move to the left? How many? Let's just remind ourselves. Let's just stick to the right process, right? It's supposedly 2 times to the left, and it is. So here we go. I'm going to grab that decimal place, and I'm going to go 1 time, and then 2 times to the left. Now, everybody, what number should I put in this imaginary little spot? Right, it should be a 0. So that place, you need a placeholder, and 0 is always there as the placeholder. So boom. So that's going to be 0.07, not 0.7. If you had 70%, yeah, that would be 7.7 because you move it twice, and then that would give you 0.7. But if it's 7%, you move 1 decimal place over, covering the 7, the other decimal place covering that imaginary 0 that's there. So yes or no, everybody, before we continue, do you understand the difference between a 7% and 70%, converting those? And don't worry, we'll have plenty of opportunities to grow from those mistakes if we're still making them. Don't worry, we've got plenty of chances. Plenty of chances. Okay, great. Sounds good. So let's go ahead and have some fun now. So that was step 1. Again, step 1, when you're multiplying or applying a percent, first off, just convert it to a decimal. Number 2, multiply. That's it. Just go ahead and multiply and you're good. So here's what I mean by that, my party people. Here's, again, just an example of step 2. When I say just multiply, really what I mean is literally multiply, ignore the decimals, then bring those decimals back. So let's take a look at this question here. 50% of 20. Here's step 1. Converted it to a decimal, 0.50. Everyone, quick question. What's another way to say 0.50 that takes less space? What's another way? Just 0.5. In terms of the way that we write the actual number, right? 0.50 and 0.5, those are the same thing. Those are the same thing. I want to make sure I iterate that the right way because when we multiply, let's just go ahead and show both ways here. Let's say I'm doing the 20 multiplied by 0.50. Let me show you why knowing that is pretty important. Let's go. Right here, 0 times 0 is 0. Then 2 times 0 is 0. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead. I'm going now to the 5. So I got to go ahead and put an extra 0 here. And let's keep going. Now we have 0. 0 times 5. That's going to be 0. Then we have 2 times 5. Oh, finally, 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, let's add that together. 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, great. And so once you actually finish the multiplication, here's all you're going to do. Remember how earlier I said ignore those decimals? Well, now we'll go ahead and bring them back. So over here with the 20, you don't see anything. It's just right there. It's, it's at the end. But over here with the 0.50, yeah, you got something going on there. You got 1, 2 decimal places. So what you're going to do, everybody, is you're going to bring back 2 decimal places. Just like this. 1, 2. And there it is. Your answer is 10. So when it comes from the perspective of, or the framework of, hey, when you're multiplying decimals, just multiply the numbers like normal and then bring the decimal places back. Yes or no, does that make sense? And so again, remember, I'm going through just every phase of what we're going to be doing. The setup, understanding the main idea, setting up a formula, actually calculating, multiplying with decimals. I'm going through it all together here, one by one, because when we do a problem, we are going to go through them all at the same time. So again, I want to make sure you understand what's going to happen. That way, if there's something that you're particularly apprehensive about or not quite ready for, you can write that down and say, hey, I'm in Coach's program. He has a whole section on multiplying percents or a whole section on identifying keywords. Go in there and get it done. Okay? So let me go ahead and show you why it's important to know that these are the same number. 0.50 and 0.5. They're the same number. So let me prove it to you by doing this. 20 multiplied by 0.5. Notice how if you know that 0.5 and 0.50 are the same thing, you can give yourself a slightly easier time. So for example, 0 times 5, that's going to be 0. 2 times 5, that's going to be 10. And now you count your decimal places. You have one decimal place right here. You bring one back, and that's 10. A little faster, right? So that's the idea. That's the idea. Yes or no, does that make sense? If you knew that 0.50 and 0.5 are the same thing, you take a little less time to do that. Cool. So with that said, let's go ahead now. Now that we're done with all of that, here's just a quick recap. On your notes right now, what you should see, or some notes of, are the main ideas. A percent is out of fill in the blank. What is it? Percent are out of great 100. Yes. Percents are out of 100. Now, if you are trying to find the result after applying a percentage, to find the result, what operation is that typically? Multiplying or dividing? Which way is associated with forward to get the result? What operation? That is multiplying. If you're working forward to get the result, you are multiplying. And specifically, again, multiplying that percent by the original number to get the result. Let's flip the script here if we're finding anything else. Oh, the notes are right there. If you're trying to find anything else, so if you're trying to work backwards, what operation are you typically going to use? Dividing, right? To work backwards to find anything part of the original value or the percentage that was applied, you're working backwards. Okay? Oh, for sure, Lester. We're going to have plenty of practice. I got you. What I'm just doing right now is making sure that you have these notes down and are ready to access these notes at any point in the class. That way, as you're practicing, you're not relying on me to perfectly explain it step by step, which I'm going to do my best to do, but it's still compounding with your notes so you can basically associate what you wrote with some of that positive feedback that you're going to get to then make those improvements and build that consistent confidence. So with that said, let me go ahead and bring this back here. So now that we've gone through these fundamental pieces, the last thing we need to do is this. We need to go ahead and now understand the pieces of information that we're going to be going through here. Give me one moment, everybody. I don't know why. You can probably hear that. That is a vacuum that should not be on. Boom. Okay. Sorry about that. But let's go ahead and go through the main things that you're going to see here. Number one, in every single percent tax and discount word problem, there's 4 different elements that you could possibly be looking at. Number one is going to be the original amount that something costs. So the initial value, whatever it might be. Okay. Now, number 2, the percent of the tax or discount. Okay. So again, you're going to have your original amount, the original amount that something costs. Number 2, the tax associated with that problem or the discount associated with that problem. In some cases, you're going to deal with both. Like I said, with those challenge questions, you're going to see problems that have a tax and a discount at the same time. We're going over those either later today or in tomorrow's class. Next up, there's the amount that represents the tax. So let me help you understand what that really means. Let me help you understand what that means. Okay, so with that, yeah, no, it's a Roomba. So with that, I want to make sure you understand something very important here. These are associated. The percent and the amount of the tax and discount, they represent the same thing. One is in the form of a percent, like let's say a 10% discount, and then the other is the actual dollar amount that represents like that 10% discount. So it could be, 10% off translates to $25 off. Do you understand what I'm trying to say there? Again, all I'm saying, you don't have to really know much more than that, but it's that these two things are associated. So the percent and the amount, there are things associated with the other. And lastly, the final price, the final amount after the tax, after the discount, that's also a number you'll need to pay attention to. Okay. So I'm going to give it a couple seconds here. I'm going to let you write that down. I'm going to zoom in a little bit too, just in case you need to see that a little better. You zoom in just a little more. And again, if you are using your phone, I highly suggest turning your phone sideways. That way you can see a lot more of the content that's on the screen. Cool. So one more time, screenshot. Sounds good. Boom. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and let's chat about it one more time here. 4 things. Write these down. There's going to be an original amount. There's going to be the percent that represents the change, the tax or the discount. There's going to be a percent associated in there. There's going to be an amount associated with that percent. And lastly, the final price. Okay? Lastly, it's going to be the final price. Now, there's a big important note that I have down here that I need you to write down as well. Then this is the last thing I'm going to have you write down prior to this next slide. So when it comes to tax and discount problems, you're always, and when I say always, what I really mean is always going to start from 100%. Okay? Remember, like I said, everybody, when it comes to percentages, the original amount, the whole thing is represented by 100%, the whole thing. And so when you apply a tax, you're adding on top of 100. When you're applying a discount, you're shaving stuff away from that 100 because you're not going to pay a full 100%. You're going to pay less with a discount and pay more with a tax. But this is the biggest piece of advice that I can really put up here. Always start from 100% when it comes to these percent tax and discount problems. So let me zoom on out over here and let you take your screenshot or finish writing your notes down. But after this and one more little bit, we're going straight into practice for the rest of class. Yes, I understand that my smile is, yeah. Okay, cool. So with that, here we go. Let's go and get into this next slide here. Percent change, always start with what percent again? I just said it. I think I said it properly. Always start with 100. Always start with 100. Exactly. Always start with 100%, my party people. Always. Let me put that in red here. Always. You have to understand that what you're doing is you're applying a tax or a discount. You're applying the percent to that original amount to see what the result is. So we have to keep that frame of reference in mind because you're going to see these setups are actually way easier than you might think. So always understand what you're looking for. So here's your first problem. It's going to come up in 2 slides. I have this, but I'm going to go over the strategy behind things. So I'm going to show you your first problem, and really what I'm going to do is I'm going to prove a point. Really quick, yes or no, do you generally suffer from blanking out on word problems or test anxiety? Okay, sounds good. Or bad, sorry, but we're here to fix that. Now, here's the point I'm going to prove. The point I'm going to prove is that there is a way out of that feeling. There absolutely 100% is a way out of that feeling. And really, the way to get out of it is to have a strategy. If you don't have a strategy, then you're going to basically submit yourself to the will of how you're feeling, submit yourself to what the problem says and all this stuff, when at the end of the day, if you follow a simple 3-step strategy, not only will it help you get the problems right, but even if you don't get the problem right, you're going to be able to identify why you got it wrong and what you can do differently to get better next time. This is a strategy you always want to apply when you practice, because if it's ingrained in your head while you actually take the real test, then you are replacing the test anxiety, replacing that nervousness with just action and things that you need to do. So let's go ahead and get into it here. This is the 3-step strategy that you need to know. If you've been to my classes before, you know. For those of you that are here for the first time, take a screenshot of this. There's a 3-step strategy to every single problem. Simple as this. Step 1, read the question. You got to know what the question's telling you to look for. How do you know that the percent matters? How do you know that that first number matters or the last number matters if you don't know if they're useful or not? So, number one, read the question. Know what the question's asking you to find. I'm not talking about, oh, this is the exact math or formula. No, I'm just talking about in general. It's a word problem. Are you looking for the cost of something? Are you looking for how many of something there are? Are you looking for time? Are you looking for what? Like, can you tell what you're looking for? And so once you know what you're looking for, then your next goal, number two, is just to go through every bit of information that's related to what you're trying to find. That's where the problem really develops in your favor, as opposed to you just sitting there and hoping that it just works itself out, and then you just take a guess because you got to move on. Big difference between confidence and hope. We want to be confident. We don't want to hope that things work out. We want to know that they'll work out because we know why things work. So number one, read the question. Number two, all the information related to the question. Let's write that down. Number three, let's make a plan. Notice that I'm not trying to make a plan until I have a good understanding of where I am trying to get to and where I am with the information. Because if you don't know where you are, where you're trying to get to, how can you build a map? You can't. So you have to know first what you're trying to get to, and second, understand the information you have available to you, so then you can bring yourself from where you are to where you need to be. Does that make general intuitive sense, everybody? Yes or no? Good. Good. I'm truly, okay, seriously, write that down, take a picture, do what you got to do, gave you enough time. Let's get into this first question here. What I'm going to do here is, again, I'm going to prove that point, that strategy matters. And here's how I'm going to prove that point. I'm going to start a timer here for 2 minutes, and I'm going to let you tackle this first question. So here's the timer. And there is this timer starting. Boom. Let's go ahead, give it a shot. Go ahead, try it out. I'm going to shut up now for 2 minutes. I'm going to disappear. Type ready in the chat box when you're ready, but just give it your best go. And looking at our final 3, 2, and 1. If you have an answer, go ahead. Give that answer. If you were stumped, if you were confused, go ahead. Go ahead and say that you're confused. It's all good. I'm here to help you out. It's all set. Again, we're here to grow. We're here to grow. So I see a lot of us are saying C. Some of us are saying that we're confused, stumped. Some of us are saying A. Okay, no worries at all. I got you. So let's go ahead and really just remind ourselves. What did I say? When you're suffering from that feeling of being stumped, blanking out, again, that just stems from not having a strategy and not having practiced that strategy enough. So let's go ahead and take a look at this problem with that first step in mind. Everyone, what was step number 1 in word problem strategy? RTQ. I see a lot of people saying RTQ. What does that mean again? read the question. So I'm going to highlight this in every class moving forward. Step 1, 2, and 3 are always going to be shown right there at the top in these classes. So step 1, what do we want? Right here, read the question. How much money will Michelle pay in taxes for the printer? Sounds good. So everyone, in one word, can you describe to me what we are looking for here? In one word. Right, we're looking for how much we're going to pay in taxes. Yeah. And there's another keyword that we might want to highlight as well. Are we looking for the percent tax, the amount of the tax? What are we looking for? Right, we're looking for the payment, the money amount right here. How much money will Michelle pay in taxes for some printer that we're talking about? So before we even continue, I'm not asking you if you know how to do the problem already. All I'm asking you is, hey, can you look at that question, that sentence that says, how much money will Michelle pay in taxes for the printer? Is it clear to you that that says, again, how much money? So you're talking about a dollar amount that's associated with paying taxes for a printer. So basically, the dollar amount for the taxes of the printer. Is that fair to say to you? Yes or no? We're looking for the dollar amount, the money that's associated with the tax for the printer. Okay, so let's just write that down. Like, that's what we're looking for. It doesn't matter if we know how to get there yet. We got to take it one step at a time. First step is knowing what we need to find. Number 2, then we'll think about what information can help us. But first, don't jump ahead. Step 1, what is it that we want? And again, it's going to be the money associated in the taxes for the printer. Okay, let's just write that down there. That's fine. The dollar amount that we need in taxes for the printer. Sounds good. Now we can go into step 2. Now we can start exploring what we have. So allow me to go ahead and just change a color here so I can make this a little better for us. Okay. So now we're going to do this again. Step 2, we're going to look at what we have. So let's just go ahead and highlight the information here. It says, hey, Michelle sees that the $102 printer she wants to buy. Okay. It's a $102 printer. And it says, we'll have an 8% tax applied at checkout. Okay, I see another number here. 8% tax. And then it says, bringing the total she'll pay to this much money. Okay, sounds good. So let's go ahead here. Let's write that information down nice and slow here. Number 1, it says that it's a $102 printer. But we also see another price right here, $110.16. So let's just break that down for a second because we have 2 different dollar amounts and we have a percentage. Let's make sure we write down what those things mean. So let me write down the $102 right here. We have the 8% and we also have the 110.16. Let's write those 3 things down and let's break it down. Everybody, that $102, what does that represent? According to you, according to what you saw, what does that represent? And let's use your notes here. Let's use your notes. How do we break things down, everybody? We broke it down by the original amount, the amount of the tax or the discount, the percent of the tax or the discount, and the final price. So using those keywords that I just taught you a few moments ago, let's associate it here. The 102, read around the words. Michelle sees that the $102 printer she wants to buy will have a tax applied and then she'll pay this much. So the 102 is best represented by what? The amount before taxes, which is the same thing as saying the original cost. Exactly. That is the original cost. Yes or no? Do we agree? That is the original cost. That is the original cost. Right? Yeah. It was 102 just listed. And then everybody, so what that means is, what does that $110.16 represent? What does that represent? Right, that's the total after taxes. That's the final cost. Exactly. Right here. bringing the total she'll pay to 110.16. Right there. The total she'll pay to 110.16. So what that tells me is that is the final amount. All right. And then lastly, the 8%. What was that again? That was the tax, right? That was the tax percent, right? That was the tax percent. All right. So let's understand what we have to understand a possible plan. Everyone, one more time. What are we looking for again? What are we looking for in this problem? You can say it in a phrase if you'd like to. What are we looking for? It's all good, baby. We're going to work through it. So when you say tax, notice that we have two things for tax. We have the actual dollar amount of the tax, and we have the percent of the tax. Which type of tax are we looking for, the percent or the amount? Right, the amount of money that she's paying in tax. Everyone, I'm going to tell you right now, for this problem, you don't even need to have knowledge of how to compute with percents to be able to do this. And here's why. Let's just go ahead and look at this intuitively. Follow me along in terms of the idea. Please go ahead, just put your pencils down. Let me just show you what I mean. Some problems will try to go ahead and trick you, and that's why it's so important to start off with reading the question. Everyone think about it like this. Since we know what the original cost was, and since we also know the final amount, again, after taxes, everyone, is it true that if we start from the final amount, so the amount with the tax, and we take away the amount without the tax, what we're going to have left is the amount of the tax? Is that fair to you? Yeah, that's absolutely what's going to happen in this problem here. You check out what you have as the final price, and here you already have the original price. So you can subtract, and that'll give you how much tax you got charged. So if you take a look here, let's go. $110.16 minus the $102. Let's go ahead and try that out. Let's go ahead and see what happens here. So everyone follow along. Let's see. 6 minus 0 is 6. 1 minus 0 is 1. Then 0 minus 2 can't do that. So let's go ahead and cross that out. So then we have 10 minus 2. That's going to be 8. Then we have 0 minus 0, 0 minus 0. So we have $8.16. That right here is the amount of the tax. That is the amount of the tax, and that would place us right here at answer choice C, because that's the difference between what it originally costed and what you paid after taxes, including taxes. So that was given to us right there, and now that we have that, boom, answer choice C. Now, I'm going to show you how to do this problem using our formula to show you how this is still going to be correct. But who here sees a potential mistake that they made by just not reading the question? Hey, right on, Brian. I'm glad that was helping. Yeah, there's definitely another way to do it. If we were not given the original or not given the final, we can still find it because we still have enough information. So in this problem, again, you actually have extra information. The 8% was not necessary to use, but it can be used to get the answer. So again, everybody, we are looking for the amount of the tax. So let me show you two cool little neat features that you're going to want to learn in terms of calculating from the original to the final. Let me show you two ways here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make some of this a little smaller. Over here, and over here. Just going to make this just a little smaller. Come here. Right there. Okay. So let me go ahead and just divide this paper in half. Let me just move this over here. Okay. So I'm going to show you again two different ways to figure out what that amount of the tax was. and it's using these formulas. So in one way, to find the amount of the tax in the formula, you can just apply the tax flat out. If you were trying to find the final price from the very get-go, then you would need to use the percent that represents the final price. So again, let me just do this right here so it can make a little more sense in practice. So to find the amount of the tax, just apply the tax percentage. And I'm just going through examples with you. This is going to make a lot more sense as you see multiple problems like this. So just start off by trying to follow along as best you can, because as you see more and more of these types of problems, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about here. So number one, to find the amount of tax, just apply the tax. Everybody, what was the percent tax that we had again? What was the percent tax? 8%, right? Cool. So let's write that down, 8%. And again, remember, you apply the tax to the original amount. Everybody, what was the original amount in this problem? $102. That's right. So 8% of $102. Sounds great. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and actually set up the formula. We've already have it there. The 8% of $102 equals the amount of tax. And let me just associate this with you. 8% represents the percent of the tax. So the result that you'll get is the amount of the tax. Let's go ahead and do the work here. Watch this. Everybody convert convert 8% to a decimal for me. I'm trying to say the right answer and give you the question at the same time. What is it going to be? And be careful. Remember, we went through this mistake earlier, right? If you said 0.8, not going to be correct. It's going to be 0.08. And everybody, since we're trying to find that result here, are we multiplying or dividing again? What are we supposed to do? The word of means what again? Yeah, we're going to be multiplying. That's right. Going to be multiplying. So we're going to do 0.08 times 102. And we're going to find out what that is now. Let's go ahead and put in that work here. So watch, 102 multiplied by 0.08. And let's go and get to work. Everyone right here, let's go 2 times 8. That's going to be 16. Carry the 1. Okay, great. Then we have 0 times 8. That's going to be 0. Carry the 1 is 1. Then we have 1 times 8. That's going to be 8. And what do we say, everybody, when we're multiplying decimals? What do we do with those decimal places? What do we do? Not always move it twice, 2 spaces to the left. No, that's for converting the percent to a decimal. That's converting a percent to a decimal. That's this process. That's that process. What do we do? Yeah, when it comes to multiplying by decimals, we just count the number of spaces we used or ignored, and we bring them back. So yes, in this case, it is 2 spaces. But there could be a problem with 1, could be a 1 with 3, could be a problem with 4. That is something you really want to pay attention to so you don't get confused, okay? Something you really want to pay attention to. So here we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 8.16, which is going to be $8.16. Everybody, is that the correct answer? Is that the correct answer? Yep. That is. And so notice, we applied the percent of the tax to find the amount of the tax because we were looking for the amount. We can absolutely do that. Boom, nice and easy. Here's another way we could have done it. Here's another way we could have done it, everybody. Let me go ahead and show you this other way. And I'm going to use this as an example as we move forward. So, Paul, I got you. Give me one moment here. Go ahead and type that out and give me one moment. So here's another way you can do it. The second way is you can find the final price, then do exactly like we did where we had the final price, then we went ahead and subtracted the original amount, And that gave us the gap, that amount of the tax. So I'm going to show you how we can do that one too. It's important for me to show you both of these methods because there's going to be situations where it might be easier to go one way or the other. Or they might actually just ask you for the amount of the tax or discount and not the final amount. Some questions they might ask you for the final amount, not the tax. So you got to make sure you know how to do both. So you can find the final price, then subtract to get the amount of tax. Cool. So write that down, and then we're going to start in a moment. Let me go ahead and answer Paul's question. I got you, Seth. So here, so when you multiply the decimal, you have to 0.08 times 120. Yeah, it was 0.08. Yeah, 0.08. Because again, you want to move that decimal place twice, and that placeholder, so once, twice, that placeholder, there needs to be a 0 in that placeholder. Yeah, 0.08. If it was 80%, it would just be 0.8 because it would cover the 0, then cover the 8.8. All right, so let's go ahead and show this here, everybody. Quick question, pop quiz time. When we're applying taxes and discounts to get that final amount, we always start from what percent? Always start from 100, right? Always start from 100. So let's think of it like this. I'm going to go ahead and say we have 100% as the original amount. And everybody, what was the number, the percent that we're applying again? 8. Now let's remind ourselves, everybody, when you're applying a tax, are you going to be adding that 8% on or subtracting 8% from that original amount? And give me a reason why. Give me a reason why. Give me a solid reason why. Why? We're adding because what? Let's see who's got it. Right, we're adding because it's a tax increase. We're adding because it's a tax increase. And Bryant, so subtracting the final price from the original price will get you the amount of the tax. That is correct. Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, a tax means that you're increasing, you're paying more. And if you don't know that, you probably don't have a job. So let's go ahead and get into that here. So we're going to add on right here, and that's going to be adding 8%. Boom. And then what's the result going to be, everybody? What's the result going to be? What's the final percentage amount? What's it going to be? 108. Right, that's going to be 108%. And what that represents, everybody, is the final price. Because think about it. This represents the percent of the final amount. The reason that works is simply because of this, my party people. It's simply because of this. When you think about the real world, with the money, you have the original cost, then you have the taxes being added on top of that, then you have that dollar amount that you pay at the end. It works the same. It works in a parallel way with percentages. The original amount is always going to be 100%. It's always the whole thing, the original thing. And then with taxes, you add on top of that, discounts you take away from that. In this case, we added, because we're paying more with the taxes, that 8% tax. So you're paying 108% right here of that original amount. And here's how that would look to prove it to you. Because remember, we know what the final amount is. We know it's $110.16. I'm going to show you how to get there right now, right here. We're going to say this. 108% of, and then everybody, what was the original dollar amount again? 100 and what dollars? 102. $102 is going to equal the final cost. Because again, the 108% represents the final cost. So these are going to represent the same thing. Let's go ahead and do some work here. First of all, everybody, the 108%, convert that to a decimal. Again, 2 decimals to the left. What does 108% turn into? That is correct. If for the person who had that discount question, Alessa, that's correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're catching on now. So sweet. So yeah, that's going to be 1.08, everybody. So let's go ahead and do the math here. 1.08. The word of means multiply, and then we have 102. Let's see what that's going to be. Let's write that off here on the side or right over here. Do I want to space my big old head? I do. So here we go. I'm going to write this in orange. 102 times 1.08. It's going to be a little bit of work because we have 3 places here, 3 place values, but it doesn't change the process. If you know how to do long multiplication, this should be fine. So here we go. 2 times 8, that's going to be 16. Carry the 1. Let me zoom in a little bit here. 0 times 8 is going to be 0. Carry the 1 is going to be 1. Then 1 times 8, that's going to be 8. Then up next, we're going to go into this next place value with the green right here. So we have to start with a 0 because we're in the tens place now. So here, 2 times 0, 0. 0, 0. Okay, so that was just that was a waste of time, it feels like. But now we're going to go into that final 1. So now we're 2 places ahead. Notice that we skipped here and skipped here. So we need to have a 0 there and a 0 there before we start. Because we're now in the 3rd place. So we need to be able to start in the 3rd place. Just as a reminder for doing long multiplication. So now watch this. 2 times 1, that's going to be 2. 0 times 1, that's going to be 0. 1 times 1, that's going to be 1. Stay organized and this should be fine. Stay organized and it'll be fine. So here we go. Add everything back up together. We're going to have 6, 1, 10. Carry the 1 right there, and then 1. Now let's take a look at how many decimal places we're going to move, everybody. Let's take a look. We have over here, let me use a color that's distinguishable. We use green probably. We have 1, 2 decimal places, 1, 2 decimal places. That's $110. Let me use red here. $110.16 as the final cost. When we applied the final percent, we got the final cost. When we applied just the percent of the tax, we got the amount of the tax. Yes or no, everybody, did that make a little more sense? Because look, that's the exact same thing. Exact same thing right here. Exact same thing. When you apply the percent of the tax, you'll get the amount of the tax. When you apply the percent of the discount, you'll get the amount of the discount. If you apply the percent of the final cost, then you'll get the amount of the final cost. So the percent you apply represents the amount you get. Let me write that down for you. The percent you apply represents the amount you get. The percent you apply. Let me scroll down one more time, but I'm going to zoom on out and get everything out of the way so you can take a picture here. So the percent you apply is the amount you'll get when you calculate. Again, this is all about calculating here, okay? So I understand it still might be a little confusing because you do need some more examples of this, and that's what today is all about, all right? So please make sure you have these written down. I'll get my big old head out the way so you can take a picture right there. But it's so important that we start to just do our best to make these connections. Stop worrying about what the numbers are and really focus on what they mean. So the person who asked me, do we always have to use long division for these problems? No, I mean, if you have your mental math skills in place, great. What we did here was actually long multiplication, but we will have some problems where we're doing long division. It just depends on if you're working forward or backwards. Yeah. So hopefully we got a chance to take our pictures there. Seth, go ahead with the question, type it out, and I will answer it to the best of my ability, my man. I got you. So one more time before we continue, though, while Seth asks this question. So the reason I showed you this was because, again, to show you that the percent that you apply is the amount that you'll get. And I want you to notice that this is literally the same exact thing or leading into the same thing that we did. We proved that if we apply the tax to the original, we'll get that 110.16 that we got earlier in the problem given to us. So it works out, it checks out. And number two, once we get there, if we would have gotten there accidentally, all we would have had to do was subtract to find the amount of the tax. So that's really what I wanted to point out there. So let me move this up, give you one more chance to take a screenshot, and we are moving forward. So right now, Seth, I want you to focus on this main way because any shortcut way relies entirely on mental math. Any shortcut beyond this relies entirely on mental math. And so, unless you're there already, then don't worry about it. Like this is the way that you're gonna apply your mental math is really gonna be during the calculation. So it's still the same setup, it's still the same execution. Mental math just helps you notice convenient situations to be able to get it done. So with that, everybody, here we go. I want you to now try this next one out with me, okay? I want you to try this out with me. So first things first, let's understand the question, everybody. Can somebody give me in maybe 2 words, maximum 2 words? Can you tell me what we're looking for in this problem? Yeah, read the question. That's step 1. Yeah, but what is the question? What do we want? What is it? What are we trying to find? Give me 2 words or less. So we see the words pay coming up. We see taxes coming up. We see amount of taxes coming up. How much tax, pay and tax. I see someone saying total there. Nah, not quite, Dominic. Not quite. But let me help you understand why, though. So let's, first things first. Again, what do we want? Let's highlight that right here. How much did Kevin pay in taxes? Okay, let's get into that. How much did Kevin pay in taxes? So if you look at your answer choices, notice that those are dollar signs, right? So it looks like what we're looking for here is, again, the taxes, how much in taxes, we have a dollar amount. So for everybody here, is it understandable that the question says, how much did Kevin pay in taxes? Notice how it doesn't say, how much did Kevin pay in total? 2 different things, right? You have to know what you're looking for. Remember, you should have this written down in your notes. The notes say we have the original, then we have the amount of the tax, the percent of the tax, and the final amount. Which one of those are we looking for here? It says, how much did Kevin pay in taxes? So we're looking for the taxes, not the original, not the final, but the tax, and it's the amount because you see it's the dollar amount. Yes or no, everybody? Do we see that now? We're looking for the amount, the dollar amount of the tax. Okay. So again, I really want to be careful because here again, it's so important we go through the reasoning because that's the difference between getting the problem right now and then not just freezing on the next one, but actually knowing what you're looking for and doing in the next one too. So with that said, great. We're looking for the dollar amount in taxes. Number 2, let's go ahead and understand what information we have. So let me go ahead and grab this color here. See if I can. Nah, that's not really that legible, so I'm not going to go with it. I'm going to go with the little orange here. Actually, I'm just going to go with black just to keep things simple here. So step 2, what information do we have? Well, let's go ahead and go through the information, everybody. We see that Kevin bought a camera for $609. Then it says plus the tax. So it's like, here's the amount, and we add the tax on top of that. So everybody, what does that sound like to you? The $609, what does that represent to you? What does that represent to you? Right, the price tag amount, right? The original amount. That's absolutely correct. Notice it says, hey, Kevin bought a camera for this much money plus some tax. So what that means is it was this much, and now we're paying some taxes on top of that. And so that's the original amount. That right there is the original amount. That right there is the original amount. We've got to make sure we understand and see that, because it says that then we're then applying the tax on top of it. And so everyone, that 10% that we see, what does that represent? Right. That represents the percent of the tax. Yeah, that represents the percent of the tax. Percent of the tax. That's it right there. Absolutely. So we're looking for the amount of the tax, and we have the percent of the tax. Let me ask a quick question here, everybody. Let me just write down both of these ideas, and I'm going to have you select A or B. So A, should we go ahead? So basically what I'm going to ask is, what is our setup going to look like? Should our setup look like A, taking 10% of $609, or B, doing 100% plus 10%? So 110% of the $609. Setup A or setup B? Which one should be the way we would go to get the final answer, which is going to be the amount of the tax? I love that. We're still debating this, but I love that it's swinging in the right direction here. So let's go ahead and understand the difference between A and B here, everybody. This is the main point that I was trying to address in the beginning of class. We have to understand the difference between knowing what you're looking for and how to get there. So we said, again, the percent that you apply is the percent that represents the result. So let me just show you again right here. The percent you apply is the amount that you'll get. So let me just correct what I said there. So again, the percent you apply is the amount that you'll get. So let's understand what these percents represent. Everybody, the 10% here, this represents the percent of the tax, correct? Yes or no? The 10% there, that represents the tax, right? So what that means is when you solve this, this is going to represent the dollar amounts of the tax. If we slide over here and go to B, well, guess what? What we are looking at here is this. We have the original plus the tax, and both of these together will give you the final amount, right? So let me go ahead and actually write that down a little lower here. This is your final cost as a percent. So that means when you set this up and solve, you'll get the final cost. So what you pay at checkout. Everybody, we said which one we're looking for. Are we looking for the amount of the tax or the final cost? What are we looking for? Which one are we looking for here? We're trying to get the amount of the tax, right? And because we're looking for the amount of the tax, we only want to apply the percent of the tax. If we wanted the final amount, then we would go 100% plus 10%, and we would do that 110% to get the grand total. So again, how you set up your formula is really going to go ahead and be derived from what you're trying to find. So with that, boom. Right there, Nadia, I heard you. I hope you're feeling better. Man, I'm sorry about that. So here, let's go ahead and go to A, because this is going to give us the amount of the tax. Everyone, here we go. What is the decimal that I should write here? Yeah, Kai, we could do B with extra steps, but you would have to, once you calculate that, then subtract the 609 from that, and then you will get the amount. But it would be extra steps for no reason when you could just apply the percent of the tax. And so remember, starting from here, 1, 2, boom, 0.10, which is the same thing as 0.1. They're the same thing, same thing. And so we will multiply that by 609. And let's figure out what that is. This is going to be pretty straightforward here because we're going to have 609 multiplied by 0.1. Let's get it done. Let's get that work in. So 9 times 1 is going to be 9. 0 times 1 is going to be 0. 6 times 1 is going to be 6. Wow, that's pretty easy, right? And then from here, how many decimal places would we move back? Right, that would be 1 decimal place only, right there, boom, and that would be $60.90. That would be the amount of the tax. That would be the amount of the tax right there. So you see how that would get you the final answer right there straight away. You don't have to, accidentally, if you applied that 10% to the 100%, you don't have to find the final and then subtract back. You can still get the right answer, but remember that the ASVAB is about getting it done in the least amount of time possible. So you don't want to put yourself in a position to have to do extra work if you don't need to. Sweet. So even if we got it wrong, even if we were stumped, does this make a little more sense? That California tax. Absolutely. All right, great. So with that said, my party people, here we go. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and present you with a problem that I want you to try on your own. But let me just refresh with you really quick to make sure that I'm not being irresponsible. Everyone, so if I'm trying to find the final amount after applying a tax, am I adding or subtracting from 100%? If I'm trying to find the final amount after the tax, is that adding or subtracting from 100%? Okay, adding, great. If we're trying to find the final amount after applying a discount, are we adding or subtracting from 100%? Right. If we're trying to apply a discount, we subtract from 100%. Remember that 100% is your anchor. That's the original thing. If you're trying to find the final, you're basing it off of 100 going up or down. If you're just trying to find the amount of the tax or the amount of the discount, don't worry about that 100. You already have the percent. Get it done and figure it out. Here we go. Next question, 2 minutes. Try it out. I want you to understand, am I looking for the final or am I looking for just the amount of the change? Like really truly give yourself the opportunity to figure that out, man. Seriously. Stop worrying about calculating when you don't know what to do to begin with. And looking at our final 2, 1, and time. There we go. So what answers do we have, my party people? What answers do we have? And if you're stuck, again, if you're stumped, go ahead and say you're stumped is completely good. You're fine. Again, I'm here to help you out. So let's check it out. I don't know why it's freezing. There we go. Thought it was freezing for a second. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it here, my party people. Let's have some fun. Again, let's really understand the mechanics of what makes this problem a successful one for us and really what made it a headache. Like, let's overcome this. So here we go. Now, first things first, we want to know what we want. As always, read that question here. Read that question. What do we want? Right up here. So what we want, everybody, in 1 or 2 words, as short as you can say, in that red highlight, in the question sentence, what is it that we're looking for, everybody? What do we want? What do we want, everybody? 2 words or less here. So I see people saying, stumped, read the question, the amount saved, right? The amount saved, the money saved, how much money did he spend with a discount, amount saved, money saved, final price, amount saved, amount saved, amount saved, how much was saved. That is going to be it. It's the amount saved. Let's go ahead and read along here. Let's really take it slow. Right here. So how much will Andrew save on the purchase? How much will Andrew save on the purchase? So everyone, let's think about it naturally in the real world. Like, because the thing is, when it comes to percent tax and discount, this is a very real concept to a lot of us. So if I'm thinking about this in the real world, okay, I'm buying an item. I use a discount code. Okay, I pay less now. And on my receipt, it says, oh, you saved this much money. So we're looking for the amount that we saved, or essentially, is it fair to say that the amount that we save is the same as the amount of the discount? Is that fair to say? The amount that we save is the amount of the discount. Yeah, it is. The amount you save. And notice that I'm not going to always baby you with this, right? I'm not going to say directly discount, because that's not what every problem does. You have to be able to read the key words and know what it's implying, know what it's saying. I'm trying to make you a stronger word problem reader here, guys. So the amount that you save, so how much, so the amount, and save is discount. So what we want is the amount of the discount. Write that down, please. And thank you, right there. Yeah, exactly. That's right, Fisher. We want the amount of the discount, the sale discount. Yep, we want the discount. Now, number 2, let's write the information down that we have. So here we see Andrew is buying groceries for this much money, and he's going to apply this discount at checkout. So everybody, did the discount get applied yet? So I'm basically asking you, what does that 121 represent? Is that 121 representing before the discount or after the discount? Is that representing before or after? Yeah, it's the amount of the groceries before you get to the checkout. It's before you apply those discounts. No worries, and that's what we're going over for sure, right? Alessa, that's what we're going over step by step here. So here, Andrew is buying groceries for $121 and will. Think about the word will. It didn't say that he did already apply a discount. It says that he will be applying a discount. So hopefully that can make a little more sense in terms of the past tense here going into the future. This is what the amount was, the 121, and we will apply a discount. So hopefully that's another way for us to really, get our feet wet and get into that. So boom, let's go ahead and highlight that here for $121 and will apply a 40% discount at checkout. So everybody, what does that mean? It means that the $121, looking at your notes, original, discount amount, discount percent, final cost. Which of those 4 does the 121 represent? Jessica, boom. That's going to be right there. Yeah, that right there is going to be the original amount. Booyah. That is the original. That's before that discount. So let's write down that 40%, everybody. The 40%, what is that again? What does that represent? Is that a tax or a discount? Is that a tax or a discount? Right, that's a discount. Sounds good. Great, sounds good. So everyone, let's go ahead and get back to the connection here. We figured out what we wanted. We want the amount of the discount. We saw what we have. We have the original and the percent of the discount. So should we do the whole start from 100 and subtract, or should we just apply 40%? So what should we do? Should we start from 100% or should we just apply the 40%? Which one? Let's think about that. Okay, so a lot of us are saying apply the 40. Some of us are saying start from 100. It's pretty half and half right now, actually. So here's the correct answer. Remember what I said. The percent that you're applying represents the amount that you'll get. So if you apply the 40% discount or the 40%, just do 40% of that 121, that will represent the amount of the discount. If you start from 100% and you subtract the 40, that's the final cost percent. And that will give you the final cost amount. We're not looking for the final amount, right? We're looking for the savings, the discount. That's what's going to tell us, hey, start by just doing 40% of the 121. Start with just 40% of 121 and you're good. So let's go ahead and prove that here. If we apply the 40% of 121, everyone, what is 40% as a decimal again? Yeah, that's going to be 0.40 or 0.4. It's not going to be 0.04. Remember here, watch. 1, 2, 0.4. So you can get, again, 0.40 or 0.4. They're the same thing. Any extra zeros at the end, you can get rid of because it's the same thing as saying 0.4, 0.000000 forever. We're not going to go through all that. We can shorten it. It can be just fine. And so here, 0.4 times 121. Remember, because this represents the percent of the discount, the answer is going to represent the dollar amount of the discount. Again, the percent that you apply is the amount that you get. Always. I gotta repeat myself a million times there. The percent you apply is the amount that you get. Since we want to find the amount of the discount, we want to apply the percent of the discount. Easy does it. If we were looking for the final amount, then we would apply the final percent. Two different things. So here we go. Right here, 121 multiplied by 0.4. Let's get it. Let's get to work here. 1 times 4, that's going to be 4. 2 times 4, that's going to be 8. 1 times 4 is going to be 4. And so what we do here, everybody, is move back how many decimal places now? Right, just one. Just one here. Boom and boom. So that'll be 48.4, which is the same thing as saying $48.40. That right there is the amount of the discount. Because again, what the percent that we applied was the percent of the discount. So this is the amount of the discount. So yes or no, everybody, does the process make sense? If we want to find the amount of the discount, apply the percent of the discount. It's seriously that straightforward. It's similar to proportions where we say compare the same things in the same way. Same idea here. And so booyah, there's our answer. And there it is. D, $48.40. How do you make sure that it's correct? So the way that you can make sure that it's correct is by working backwards. So you know that if you go ahead and apply the 40% discount to 121, you get 4840. Well, if you divide the 4840 by 40%, you'll go right back to 121. Hey, that's what's up, Chakori. There you go. And Imani, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and ask in the chat box. You're good. All right, my party people. So while that, I'm going to wait a couple seconds for that question to be asked. I got you. And so just wanted to show you another question right after I'm going to answer this one here. We're going to go through one more, and then we're going to get into some rapid fire stuff. Okay. And again, it's always about reading that question first. So let me go ahead and answer these questions here. Let me see. So, okay. So how do I know how many times to move the decimal back when getting the final answer? Oh yeah, for sure. I got you. We went over that, but super easy. We count the amount here. So we did one decimal place here that we ignored. So it's one that we bring back. So it's always the number of places that you ignore that you always bring back. And again, if you're in the program, I think you might be in it. If you're not, there's a whole section on decimals, multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting. It makes everything all clear and simple. You could probably master it in a day or two. Super easy. So Alessa says, when we found the discount or tax applied, we work on the percent way. If you want to find the total amount with the tax included, then we would add the percent with 100. With a discount, you would subtract it. Hold that question until after this next one, just in case you might have that question. Let's see how that goes. Imani, since I've been working with you for a bit, go ahead and take a screenshot of this and then send this over to me and say, hey, coach, I talked to you about this in class. I was having trouble with this. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to set you up with a little personalized plan with a couple of recorded lessons that I want you to start with and some practices that start you off nice and slow and build you up to this. Because it sounds like there might be a fundamental issue that you might have. And so I want to pick your brain to see where you're at, okay? It's kind of hard to do that with 120 people here, but it would be a lot easier to do it when we text each other one-on-one, okay? I got you. And then here, let me see. Yeah, for these going forward to get the result, it's about multiplication, yeah. And now you know why it's wrong, Zach. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and try this next one out here before we try to get to some time practice before the end of class. So here we go, everybody. Go ahead and try this one out. Shamoya, how do you know whether to subtract, add, multiply when it comes to the percent of tax and the number we originally have? So as always, yeah, tax, you're adding because you're paying more. Discount, you're paying less, so you subtract. But that's always applied to when you're trying to find the final. So let me show you this next example here after the timer. It's all good, Shamoy. I definitely understand why it can be confusing. So let's go ahead and go through this last example. Just try your best. And what we'll do is we'll see and compare how this problem was similar to the one before, to the one before that, and we'll spot those differences before we move forward. But for now, I want you to just focus on, can you identify the question and can you write the information down? That's all I care about for now, and then we'll move forward from there. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who are here for the first time and were asking about the program, notice that I ignored all those questions about the program today because I want to make sure that I continue teaching. But for those of you that are interested in the full program, I do run a discount on Mondays only. That way you can take advantage of that and join the program at a nice discount and get everything you need to raise your score. So let me go ahead and just copy and paste this into the chat box in one moment. So there's the link in the chat box in Zoom, and here it is on YouTube as well, my party people. So I just put it into the chat box in both. Boom. Lewis, let me see if I missed your message. My bad, boss. Let's see. Hey, I'm glad, Lewis. I'm glad you've been working hard, man. Now, give me an update every time you complete a speed drill successfully so I can kind of keep a mental note of how well you're doing. That is time up, my party people. Time is up. Time is up. So remember, everybody, as confused as you might feel, remember that you are probably confused because of one of three phases. You might be confused on identifying what the question's asking you to figure out. You might be confused on what the information means, or you might be confused on, hey, how do I use what I have to get to what I need? And this is where I want to really show this last example here before we get into the time, like the real time stuff, because we're going to compare this to these other questions here. We're going to show how each of these were different and why we did what we did. So let's check it out here. It says, hey, how much did Patricia pay at checkout? So everyone, let me just go ahead and highlight it first. How much did Patricia pay at checkout? So if we want to know what do we want, again, it's our first step. Let's remember, when it comes to percent tax and discount word problems, you're going to have your original. Let me use a different color here. You're going to have your original. You're going to have the percent of your tax or discount. You're going to have the amount of your tax or discount. And you're also going to have your final cost, the final amount. So with that said, everybody, let's just keep that in mind. Keep these four things in mind. These are the notes that I told you to write down. Let's see what we're trying to find and see what information we have. See where all this falls. So how much did Patricia pay at checkout, everybody? What does it sound like we're trying to find? And Elisa, yeah, you see it now, right? Yeah, we're trying to find the grand total, the final amount that you pay, right? We're looking for the final amount. How much did you pay at checkout? At checkout, meaning when you swipe your card, the final amount, or pay in cash, either way, but you get it. When you swipe that card, what's the final amount? What are you being billed? Not what you see and what discounts and taxes, but what you are being billed. Yes or no, does that make sense? For those of us that said differently, we are looking for the final amount. Again, pay at checkout. That is the most important thing there. We want the final cost. So the final amount. So again, you could have joined us an hour later. That should make sense. It should be agreeable to you that, yeah, what we're paying at checkout, that's the final cost, that's the final amount. Now we're going to integrate that with noticing how this information fits and the formulas and all that stuff. But at least here, we should have a little bit of sense of calm, cool, and collectedness. Like, okay, yeah, I get it. We're looking for the final amount. I don't know how to get there, but we're looking for the final amount. So next up, let's take a look at the information that we have. So here, number 2, what do we have? So let's check it out. So here it says, hey, Patricia took groceries listed at $111 to the checkout counter where she applies a 45% discount. Girl, I don't know what kind of extreme couponing this is, but she's balling, right? So yeah, she took the groceries listed at this amount to the checkout where she applied a 45% discount. I didn't make this problem. My program did that I built. So yeah, 45% discount looks great, but let's talk about what these numbers represent. What does this mean? Listed at 111. What does that mean? What does that mean? Again, from the framework of all of these here, because we know that we're looking for the final cost, but what do we have? What do we have? What is that? 111. What is that? Yeah, the original, absolutely. That right here, that represents the original cost. So we have 111. That's the starting amount. That's before you apply the taxes and discounts. Then you see here, she goes to the checkout and she applied a 45% discount. So everybody, what does that 45% represent? The discount, but what about the discount? Is that the amount of the discount or the percent of the discount? It's a simple question, I know, right? But I still want you to answer. I know it's a very obvious question, but I want you to really say it though. That's the discount So let me show you the main way to do this, but truly you could do this either way as long as you know what the numbers mean. Watch this. Since we want the final amount, everybody, since we want the final cost, check this out. To get the final cost, everybody, if we want to find the final cost, we need to apply the blank percent. Which percent are we applying? The discount percent or the final percent? If we want the final cost, what do we apply? The discount percent or the final percent? Okay, so I see where there's a gap in some of our understanding, and that's completely okay because I'm going to show you what would happen if you did go about it that way. So watch this, everybody. Let's say, let me just erase this for a moment. I'll bring this back in a second here. Let's say we were just going to apply the 45%. Watch this. If I'm going to do 45% of the 111, remember everybody, this 45% represents the discount percent. So that means that your answer will represent the amount of the discount. So here's what you can do if you accidentally just applied the 45% blanket and you didn't even think about it. Let me show you why that would be wrong, but you can easily fix it with one little change. Everybody, what do you do? 45%, what's that going to be as a decimal? What is that going to be? Right, 0.45. So let me just show you what would happen here. So 0.45 times the 111. Let's go ahead. Let's calculate and see what that's going to be. So here, watch this. 111 times 0.45. 1 times 5, that's going to be 5. 1 times 5, that's going to be 5. 1 times 5, that's going to be 5. Okay, whatever. That's pretty complicated. Okay. Next up, we're going to go ahead and go to that 4 here. So we got to go ahead and put a 0 and keep multiplying. 1 times 4, that's going to be 4. 1 times 4, that's going to be 4. And then 1 times 4, that'll be 4. Add that all up together. And that's going to end up being 5, then 9, 9, and 4. So we have 49.95 because we're going to use the 2 decimals here that we ignored earlier to bring back 1, 2. And so we're going to have right here, boom, that's going to equal 49.95. Now, everybody, notice how the question here says that there's an answer choice C as 49.95. But however, is that the correct answer? No. Nope, not the correct answer. Because what you have to understand is that you applied 45%. 45%. Listen to my words. Forget the numbers. Ignore the numbers. Seriously, pay attention. Put your pencils down. Notice what I just did. I applied the percent that represents the discount. So you will get the amount that represents the discount. What are you looking for? The final cost after the discount. So what does it sound like we need to do if we calculated $49.95, the amount of the discount, not the final amount? We have the amount of the discount. What do we need to do, everybody, to get the right answer? What do we need to do? We need to subtract. We must subtract. Again, this is the amount of the discount. I told you, I warned you, right? I warned you 10 times. The percent that you apply is the amount that you'll get. You apply the percent of the discount. So now we have the amount of the discount. So now to finish this off, we need to go ahead now and take the $111 and subtract $49.95 to get the final amount. Because again, I'm going to highlight this for us. Original amount. This is our tax, or excuse me, our discount. And that's going to give us the final cost. Once we apply that, that's going to give us the final cost. So now let's do that. We have to go ahead and borrow a lot of ones here now. So 0 to get 10, 10 down to 9 to 1. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 9 is 0. 0 minus 9 can't do that, so borrow another 1. So then we have 10 minus 9 is 1. And then we have 0 minus 4 can't do that. So then 10 minus 4 is 6. So we have 6105, and that represents the final cost. And so boom, that's actually going to be A, not C. Now notice, like, ignore the numbers. It's the ideas, it's the process here that I still need you to focus on, my party people. It's the process. You need to know what numbers you're getting in terms of what they represent. You can calculate correctly all day. A lot of y'all were excited because you saw 49.95 and you're like, yeah, coach, I did that. Yeah. But that wasn't representative of what the answer should be. That wasn't representative. You have to be able to know what you're looking at, not just the numbers, but what it represents. So if you wanted to do this correctly in one step, let me show you what you would have done. What you would have done is, since you're looking for the final amount, you need to apply the final percent. So here's how you would have done it in one step. To get the final cost, use final percent. So with that said, everybody, because you have a 45% discount, are gonna add that or subtract it to 100%. If we're applying a discount, are we adding or subtracting? Right, we're going to subtract. So I'm going to do 100% minus 45% of the discount, and that's going to give you 45% taken away. That's going to be 55%, and that represents the final. This is your final percent, final cost percentage. You are now only paying 55% of the original cost. And so there it is. You're only paying 55% of the original. Watch this. 55% of the original being 111. Let's get to work here. Everybody, 55% turns into what? 0.55. Boom. So we have 0.55 times 111. That's going to give us our final cost. To prove the point, here we go. 111 times 0.55. Oh, that's going to be pretty straightforward, right? 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. Plug a 0 in for this next row. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. Pretty straightforward. So then we're going to add it all up, and we're going to get 5. 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry the 1 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. And we have 2 decimal places here. 1, 2, 1, 2. The final cost is $61.05. That's your final. And look at that. We got it done in one step, as opposed to accidentally calculating the discount amount and then having to realize that we have to subtract the discount amount to get the final amount. But I hope that the biggest thing that you learned here today, my party people, is this. The percent that you apply is the amount that you'll get. I've been looking for better and better ways to really express it, but I think this is it. When it comes to percents, that is truly the main idea. The percent that you apply is the amount that you'll get. Just like we have a main idea with proportions, with solving equations and everything else, there is a main one here for percents. Hey, I appreciate that, Delilah. I appreciate that a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my face out of the way for a quick moment to let you guys take a screenshot of this last question. Now, remember, everybody, before you go, tomorrow's class, we're doing a follow-up on this. If you're in the program, you know that you're going to get the invite because you're already paying for it and you're good. If you would like to join us in tomorrow's class and get all of those word problem speed drills that I was talking about And if you were not here earlier, this is it right here. Go ahead and show you what I was talking about earlier if you were not here. This here, I was showing you that you now, this week, you're going to have speed drills for percent tax and discount problems, just like this, where every time you reset it, you get brand new questions every single time. And it helps you practice. You get 10 minutes to do 5 questions. You can start off by just trying to make sure you get 1 right, and then try again to try to get 2 or 3 or 4 right, because they're going to be brand new questions every single time. And just like I promised, you're going to have feedback every single time as well, where it shows you the correct answer. And on Thursday, I'm going to build it out. You're going to have the text solutions with all the keywords highlighted, bolded, italicized, everything marked to make the process of learning so much easier. And remember, if you're already in the program, this already exists for the previous questions that we did last week, like area and perimeter. So if I go ahead and just skip to the end, this is what the feedback is going to look like. You have the question, the correct answer, and then the feedback like, hey, step 1, what do you want? Let's take it through here. It's a rectangular frame, and here's what you've got to do. Here's the formula. Here's how to apply it, and there's your answer. So I want you to be excited about this, because this is how you're going to go from the classes to that solo practice waiting for the next class. That way you are 100% confident in 1 week per topic, and you can guarantee that you're ready for the ASVAB. So with that said, my party people, how was today's class for you? And number 2, for my party people who are here for the first time, do you want to join us tomorrow? Kernisha, I'm glad this was right on. Hey, good luck on it tomorrow for sure. And Opera, please go ahead and text me about this, because this sounds like an issue, a situation that we're going to need to take a closer look at. So for sure, text me. I want to make sure I can meet your needs there as well. And yeah, with a subscription, you absolutely get access to every single recording I've ever done in the past. It's actually over 370 classes now that are recorded and available to you 24/7. And so with that said, my party people, it is 8:04, and here's what I got to do. All of these problems we're going over tomorrow. These are all generated from the program that I created this year. And I'm really excited to really just show you these problems and pump them into you. That way we can continue raising our scores. So for those of you that are already in the program, you are free to go. You're going to get a text and an email for tomorrow's class. This recording is actually going to be streamed on YouTube. So you can actually look at my YouTube channel right now, and you can watch the recording of this class right now. Tomorrow, we have part 2. And so get ready, watch that recording, and then get ready for the release of those speed drill practice problems. That way, after tomorrow, you are guaranteed to be good. If you don't have the program, I'm going to talk to you for a brief moment. So if you're excited about this in terms of today, and you want to know a little more about what the whole program entails, again, I want to go ahead and just provide this link for you all right here. I'm going to provide this link for you right here. That way, you can go ahead and check out the program and watch a video if you don't have the time to stay. So long story short, here's how the program works. I typically go through all of this, but I want to make sure I'm very blunt and straightforward. Seriously, look, if you suffer from test anxiety, if you blank out on word problems, if you feel like you don't really know what to study and how to study, this is going to help you succeed, and here's why. I'm going to go through it with you here. 3 things. Watch, practice, master. You'll be able to watch me in the live classes like we are now, or watch any of the recordings at your leisure 24/7, because you have access to an online program that you can access whenever, and you get to text me whenever you have any questions. Number 2, the practicing part, you have access to literally over 15,000 questions in my program, and it's going to be more every single week, including the 200 problems for tax and discount word problems coming out. You're also going to have access to over 800 video solutions for word problems that are already existing, practice tests, and again, courses that cover the math, arithmetic reasoning, math knowledge, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, and general science. And again, like I said, I'll have your support. I'll support you and have your back all the way until you pass. So you'll have my phone number that you can text me. And if you're part of the program and you're confused on something, how to find anything, how to do a practice problem from another textbook, doesn't matter. You can text me and I'll be around to help you out. I check in once a day, every day, to make sure that I have your questions answered. And so with that said, That's pretty much it, my party people. It's the difference between kind of delaying things and retaking the test month to month versus having a direct applicable strategy from a coach who has your back every step of the way. So the way that you sign up is super easy. Step one, go to the link that I just put into the chat box again, right here. Thank you, Vivi. I appreciate that. So there's the link right there, my party people. All you have to do is click that link, click sign up and raise your score, or you can watch the video at the top to see how it all works before you go ahead and purchase, but then pick a plan and sign up. Seriously, you can go ahead and get every single month, not just the first month, it's every month for $39 with that discount. So you take pretty much a 20% discount off of the monthly, or you can take $50 off the full year. And if you haven't checked already for other programs, other tutors are charging like $200 for just 4 sessions for 4 hours. I give you 12 hours every month, plus all the courses, and you can text me for a full year for less than a month of anywhere else. So I don't think I need to do much convincing there in terms of how valuable that year is, but either way, they're both the same version. There is no contract. If you get the subscription, cancel whenever. If you have questions, ask me. I'm here to help. And every step of the way, I can help you create a plan that'll work for you. I have a master's degree in education, and this is what I'm using it for, to help you succeed. So with that said, yeah, Vivi, you're kicking butt. You're still going. So with that said, my party people, let me go ahead and put the link right here. Oh, yeah, for sure. Vivi, you better hit me up because I want to make sure we make that plan, just like we said. And I want to make sure that you overcome some of those issues we were talking about last week. So if you'd like to sign up, there's the link again, my party people. All you got to do is click. If you're watching on YouTube, all you have to do is go ahead and go to the link of the description of this video to where I talk about the program. Just make sure to use the code Monday at checkout, hit redeem, and you get your discount. And the great thing is that the beginning of the program is all automated for you. Your welcome videos, your welcome emails and text messages, getting started, super easy. I take you through step by step. All you got to do is watch the little welcome videos and you're good. And Vivi, I'm super grateful for you as well, man. Like, honestly, you guys have been part of this program and you have basically helped me make the best possible product available. And the thing is, I'm also doing it at the best possible cost. Other tutors and companies, they rely on individual people and really driving every single step of the way. For me, I make it so that I don't have to be there every single day because these courses and videos and guided practices and recorded lessons and worksheets and flashcards, it is literally like laying it all right in front of you, and all you got to do is show up. So I'm always proud to be your teacher, Vivi, and everybody else's. Right on, Alessa. That's the attitude. Alessa, I love how you had those questions and those questions got immediately answered. And then in tomorrow's class, we're going to talk about working backwards and those tax and discount problems altogether. So Opera, I got your message there. So yeah, we definitely want to consider the program if that's the case, because for the last 5 don't really matter. The first 5 do in terms of passing the AFQT or the PICAT itself. So just to qualify for the military, you only need 4 of the 10. Arithmetic reasoning, math knowledge, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension. Then depending on the job that you want, then that's a different story for sure. Hey, Zoom user, I love you too. So yeah, there it is, everybody. I already see that a couple of you guys are already logged in and signing up. So I will wait just a few more moments here just to kind of make sure that you understand everything that's going on. But again, if you are already in the program, you're good to go. I'll see you in tomorrow's class. And if you are in the program, make sure to reach out to me on a daily or weekly basis so we can always check in, see how things are going, joke around, and make a plan for success. Hey, what's up, Anderson? Nice name. Go ahead and shoot me a text because I actually do need to hop off and eat dinner. Some slight medical issues going on that I do need to make sure I take care of myself, but I will be back first thing in the morning to talk about anything that's not about the program. I got you. Cool. So yeah, the 4 people that already signed up, you know who you are, and I got your confirmations already, so you're good. Just make sure to watch the welcome videos. And then again, once you're done watching the welcome videos, hop right into that math boot camp and start getting to work when you're ready. Yeah, so Alessa, those are going to be essentially general percent word problems. And I'm also going to be creating word problem sets for those too. Right now, I'm just trying to match the paces of the class. And you actually already have those speed drills in the regular math boot camp. So if you look in the regular math boot camp in the percent section, that should be number 5 or 6, go in there. And the first half of it is all applying percents, working backwards, finding markups, or finding percent takeaways. And that all of it leads into the percent word problems. Yeah. So if you have trouble finding it, just again, the ASVAB Math Bootcamp, not the Arithmetic Reasoning, the ASVAB Math Bootcamp, the general one. And if you go to section 5 or 6 under percents, you'll see those in there. And there's guided practice videos too. Oh, and recorded lessons because I'm awesome. But yeah. Hey, you're absolutely welcome. It's a pleasure teaching you. Yeah, I see how much you've been logging on. Yeah, you're kicking butt. So I see the next person here just signed up. You know who you are. If your email ends in 18@gmail.com, you are still in here, so I know who you are. But I'm not going to give out your information like that or call you out. But again, just watch that welcome video, read the welcome text and email, and then just shoot me a text once you're done going through everything. Because the first thing I want you to do is go into the ASVAB Math Bootcamp, get started on that. Make sure to watch those welcome videos too to explain how the courses work, best practices, that way you can raise your score as fast as possible. Sweet. And there it is right there, my party people. All right, great. All right, so I think I have one more person waiting on them. Yep, got 1, 2, and 3 there. Okay, so yep, congrats on signing up again, my party people. And again, to answer some basic questions about the program, again, there's never a contract. You can cancel if you're on a subscription. You can cancel before the next bill date. You won't get charged. If you buy the annual, you won't get charged again. It's not a renewal based. It's just a one-time payment. Also, if you didn't already know, for those of you that are considering a lifetime membership, so for those of you who are just trying to pass now and get promoted later, there's also a lifetime program that I offer. It's literally everything that is included now and every single course and update that I include in the future, no additional cost. You get everything else for free for life, and that's going to be coming out in the next month. But you can only get the lifetime if you upgrade from the year. And it's actually only going to be a $50 upgrade. For anybody who wants to buy it outright, it's going to cost way more than that. But if you already have the year, it's only going to be a $50 upgrade to the lifetime. So with that said, my party people, just wanted to go ahead and make sure that that was all very clear to everybody. If you have any questions at all, especially if you are starting out in the program and you have any questions on anything, you know I got your back. My phone number is going to be 567-698-8867. That is my phone number, my party people. Make sure to text me because I am here to make sure that every step of the way you succeed. So don't play around with this. Obviously, you know I'm a goofball. I like having fun with us. But when it's time to get down and serious, you know that's what I'm here for. So with that said, my party people, I do need to make sure that I give myself a little time to take care of me. That way I can keep taking care of you. So in the meantime, keep acing the ASVAB, doing what you got to do. Keep logging in, working hard. And then we'll see you tomorrow for part 2 of today's class, where we're going to be going over percent tax and discount word problems, working backwards, and challenge questions. So again, please take down my phone number if you have any questions, 567-698-8867, my party people. You guys be easy. I'm Coach Anderson. Let's ace the ASVAB, and I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Cheers. And my YouTube party people, appreciate y'all as always. Again, if you have any questions, there's my phone number. Text me at 567-698-8867 if you have any questions at all. It's always a pleasure teaching y'all. I'll see you in tomorrow's class too. If you have any questions on that, again, check the link in the description of this video for the video on how the program works, or you can always go ahead and shoot me a text and I'll respond first thing in the morning. Cheers, guys. Stay awesome, and let's taste the ASVAB.